CNN has done an investigation into Morgan Freeman, and unfortunately, over a dozen women have come forward and alleged that he had sexually harassed them. Now, these allegations don't go so far as to accuse him of anything like rape, but the sexual harassment claims are pretty serious, so let's get to that. 16 people did speak to CNN about Morgan Freeman as part of this investigation, 8 of whom said they were victims of what some called harassment and others called inappropriate behavior. 8 said they witnessed Freeman's alleged conduct. What I found interesting about the statements these women gave to CNN was that the majority of these sexual harassment instances happened in public. They didn't happen behind closed doors.
Well, we talked about this a little bit off air. I think that some folks from the old world, right, from older generations, thought that some of this behavior was normal. That didn't make it normal, that didn't make it right, but they grew up in that culture where guys, especially if they were rich or powerful, got to do whatever they wanted. And that's the culture we're trying to change, but I think that's why they do it in public. Remember George H.W. Bush would, whenever taking pictures, would grab the ass of the woman he's taking the picture with, and he'd joke around about it. He'd publicly, in front of his wife, in front of everybody, he'd say, you know, my favorite magician is David Copperfield.
And he would always use that joke and think, yeah, this is hilarious, they love it.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know what was in Morgan Freeman's head, but it is interesting that he did it in public.
And I want to be clear that he hasn't denied these allegations. He did release a statement. I'll get to that in just a minute. Now, I want to give you some specific examples of what the women are alleging. So first, there was a production assistant who said that Freeman subjected her to unwanted touching and comments about her figure and clothing on a near daily basis. Freeman would rest his hand on her lower back and rub her lower back. So it got worse though. This was, in my opinion, one of the more severe allegations against him. Freeman,
the one that's coming up.
The one that's coming up, which is by the same woman, okay? She says that Freeman kept trying to lift my skirt and asking if I was wearing underwear. He never successfully lifted her skirt. She said he would touch it and try to lift it. She would move away and then he'd try again. Eventually, she said, Alan Arkin made a comment telling him to stop. Morgan got freaked out and didn't know what to say.
Oh, good for Alan Arkin.
Yeah, I love that he called him out in that case. Another woman, a woman who was a senior member of the production staff of the movie Now You See Me in 2012, told CNN that Freeman sexually harassed her and her female assistant on numerous occasions by making comments about their bodies. The allegations against Freeman are not about things that happened in private. They were in public, in front of witnesses, even in front of cameras. And so he would make comments about whether or not their clothing was too form-fitting. Oh, don't wear that, it's too form-fitting, which would not make me happy. I would be very annoyed by that comment. But he would sometimes, according to some of these women, just walk toward them, stand in front of them, and just stare at their breasts in front of other people.
My guess as to why a lot of these stars do this is because in probably a huge percentage of cases, it works. So works not meaning that they let you lift a skirt, but he probably thought it was flirting. I'm not trying to make excuses for him. You can't lift up a woman's skirts, that's crazy, right? And probably in some of the cases, it was flirting and probably led to other things happening, right? That's why this movement's important, because apparently a lot of folks in this country have to be told, no, that's not kosher, it's not cool to go and stare at a woman's breasts, even if you're a star. You know, what does that remind you of, right? Now, others like Trump have been accused of far, far worse. He says, I just grabbed them, I don't ask permission, right? And he's the president, by the way. And he has been accused of like throwing a woman up against a wall and grabbing her genitals, just like he said in the famous Access Hollywood tapes. In this case, it's different. It's what Anna just read you, right? We don't get too much into comparing what's worse, et cetera, et cetera. It's, of course, disappointing. I don't know, there's people who don't like Morgan Freeman, and we don't really know him, of course, right? We just know him through the movies, and he seems so likable in the movies. I remember when the Bill Cosby thing first happened, it was heartbreaking. We grew up with Bill Cosby. By now, I now have a different image of Bill Cosby. But on day one, it's Dustin Hoffman, Morgan Freeman, etc. Oh, don't do that. Why did you do that? And most importantly, why'd you do that to those women? You had to have realized, and I guess they didn't, or maybe they didn't care, that that's going to put them in a terrible spot. You've got enormous power there on that movie set, and it could affect their careers. You absolutely, positively can't do that to another human being.
And I just want to add one other thing. Look, I don't like comparing the severity of allegations, but I will say this. For some, it might seem like a man just simply staring at a woman's breasts in the workplace is not that big of a deal. But it's incredibly degrading and demeaning, especially when it's done in public where other colleagues see it happening. It makes you feel like you're only there for one reason and one reason only, and that you're just a piece of meat. And it really does feel degrading. So just keep that in mind. It's not something small. It's something that makes women feel pretty terrible. So Morgan Freeman did respond to the allegations against him, the sexual harassment allegations, and he said the following. Anyone who knows me or has worked with me knows I am not someone who would intentionally offend or knowingly make anyone feel uneasy. I apologize to anyone who felt uncomfortable or disrespected. That was never my intent. So he didn't deny anything, but he did apologize, so I think it's important to share that with you all.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.